How's it going, everyone? I'm Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue, and welcome back to The Calling, Las Vegas. I'm here once again with DM Armada. Welcome back, my dude.
It's nice to be here. I watched the entirety of you guys' last game, and that was a clinic on Control Katsu, wasn't it?
It was rough for Viserai, to say the least.
It's a tough matchup for Viserai.
Could you think of a worse matchup for that Viserai deck?
We were talking about that. That is probably the worst case scenario for that type of deck in Viserai. Going up against a Control Katsu who can pitch all those blues and just stop that arcane damage. This round, though...
Yeah, let's take a look at this round's deck lists.
I think we also have a Viserai. Look at this. It's another Viserai. I believe both of these players are... Well, you know what? We'll talk about the records here in a moment, but look at this deck. This is a Sonata Arcanix deck. This is the Viserai that you probably thought we would see last round.
You look at the cards, you see like Whisper the Oracle, you see the Sonatas, Time Snaps. Hopefully we see some really big Sonata Arcanix turns from this.
Yes, and then of course he's playing against what everyone knows as the boogeyman of the game, Chane. And this looking through it, this looks like a pretty standard Chane list.
Like a Chane list.
We see Mutated Mass back on the
menu. I love to see it.
Mutated Mass is back here. A card you have near and dear to your heart.
Loves me some Mutated Mass.
A card that fell out of favor for a bit and has sort of made its way back into the list, I guess in this list at least.
I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. We have the OG original Runeblade Viserai versus the new hotness Chane. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And I think, yeah, especially if that Viserai can pull off a really big Sonata turn, it's going to be really sweet.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go ahead and I think we're ready to hop into the round in the matchup actually. So let's go ahead and see what's going on in round 6 of the Calling Las Vegas. We are down to this and one more round. Can you believe it? Day 1 is almost in the books.
Exciting, absolutely exciting. Going into a Runeblade versus Runeblade, but not a Chane mirror match.
And look at this. Both of these players, by the way, are 4-1. Is this the same player? Oh, have we seen this player before, the Chane player? I think we've seen him before.
I think this might be the matchup we just saw.
Oh, this does look like the previous matchup, doesn't it? This does appear to be that previous matchup. That's okay. I'm sure that they're swapping us back in, and we'll jump into Chane versus Viserai.
Talk a little bit about that matchup right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was very interesting. It was a little bit of a grindy type matchup because Katsu is just so good at blocking everything, and since he's playing Control, he's got all of this blue pitch cards, able to block all of that or prevent all that arcane damage with his arcane barrier.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult in that scenario with that sort of a deck composition to deal with someone that can just pitch away cards and is happy to pitch away cards and play, you know, that long game. That's not what you want. And starting off here in this game, we have a pitch of, look at this, 2 shadow puppetries so that they can generate, or is that a shadow and something else?
It's definitely at least the shadow puppetry using the Grasp of the Arknight to get a rune chant. And then, of course, getting a shackle there. Definitely what you want to do, at least build up those shackles. Viserai running the Reaping Blade. We've seen it a couple times in this calling.
Yeah, and this kind of screams to that OTK Sonata Viserai deck. In that scenario, you don't ever want your opponent to life gain. And so oftentimes you just straight up run, without even worrying about who you're playing against, straight up run the Reaping Blade so that they could never play a life gain card.
Oh, here we have a Tome of the Arknight. And it hits.
It hits.
That's really nice.
Wow. So Tome of the Arknight flips over the top 2 cards of the deck, revealing them. If it's a non-attack and an attack action card, you get both cards into your hand and you go again.
Fantastic draw, too, for Viserai here.
I don't hit that card very often.
Neither do I. Oh, we have a Mauvrian Skies coming in.
Very interesting because the Mauvrian Skies comes in and creates a rune chant.
Yeah, and now we have some rune chants. And is that a Rune Flash?
It is a Rune Flash, which is reduced in cost by the number of rune chants you control. So he's actually choosing here, and this is an interesting line of play. When you're playing an OTK Viserai, you can choose to just immediately start turtling up and creating rune chants, or you can choose to do this, where you don't worry about your rune chants at the beginning because you're looking for those huge rune chant generation turns, and then once you've found those cards, that's when you go through and start actually turtling up and making more rune chance than people can deal with.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, like, if you can, whatever damage you can deal early on really shrinks that threat area for your OTK turn.
That's right, yeah. The sooner you can put them on an early game clock and launch 34 rune chance at their face, the better.
Yeah. And he's got his opponent down to 34 already. So as the Viserai player, you're pretty happy here.
This is a solid opening, yeah.
Yeah. Like Chane is thinking about what he's going to do. Definitely has one rune chant sitting out there. He's going to come in with some heat. It doesn't look like he hit much. Oh, here we have a Shadow Puppetry.
Shadow Puppetry, solid. Making a... Ooh, it's interesting. He doesn't need... Oh, he's going to use the Nebula Blade. That's an interesting choice to split it up like that. He's doing this because if you attack with Nebula Blade afterwards and have to make a Soul Shackle to give it go again... Wow.
Lion Strike.
Goodness gracious.
Just a casual rune chant token coming in.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that shiny Enlightened Strike.
If for some reason Viserai wanted to block with equipment, which apparently he doesn't want to block at all,
yeah,
then
I'll just take it.
He would have been able to avoid letting that equipment return back to their zones and block again. But no, he's just going to take the rune chant, take the 4, make another rune chant, take the rune chant, and now staring down what's likely a 7 attack. No, maybe an 8 attack with go again Enlightened Strike.
A pretty threatening Enlightened Strike coming in.
Yeah, most definitely.
Oh, he just takes it, 26 to 34. That's
wow.
a pretty big hit.
That is incredibly bold.
Especially, yeah, staring down Chane. You know he can pump the damage. Ooh.
Oh, and this is why.
Mordred Tide, yeah, you gotta love it.
Wow, okay, so this is gonna create a ton.
Yeah, Mordred Tide into Oath of the Arknight, which will create a rune chant and pump up the next attack here.
Yeah.
Pitching a 9th Blade of the Blood Vote into another Oath of the Arknight, all right.
So each of these oaths create, through their own effect, a rune chant, and then would create a second rune chant off of Mordred Tide.
Yeah.
And then the Viserai would also create a rune chant, and then create a second rune chant off of Mordred Tide. So that sequence of cards is literally what you need to start creating rune chants. And he has 10 rune chants in one turn created.
It's really, really, really nice there. And now, you know, out of nowhere, 10 rune chants. Ooh, we do have an Art of War coming from Chane. That's definitely scary.
And you've already taken a lot of damage at 26.
Looks like he banished an Unhallowed Rites, which is a card that he can play from the banish zone. So he's setting up for a pretty scary turn here. He's got a lot of options.
It's a dangerous place to be if you are the OTK player.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know that you need to keep creating rune chant tokens. You need to keep pushing that number higher and higher so that you can use the combo, right? Do you want to go ahead and explain the combo for anyone that hasn't seen what you do with Bloodsheath Skeleton and OTK Viserai? Yeah,
the long and short of it is Bloodsheath Skeleton is a card. It's an equipment piece. It's that chess piece that he has right there. And it reduces... when you destroy it, it will reduce the next attack action and non-attack action. Reduce their cost equal to the number of rune chants they control. And currently he has 10. And basically what you want to do is you want to build that up to a critical mass of 20+ rune chants to make Sonon Arcanix cost. Basically you can play it for a lot, drawing, flipping over 13 cards, getting a lot of cards in your hand, doing a lot of damage, and then going off in a really big turn here.
Yes.
And it looks like Chane is having a decent turn here himself.
Yes. So we have an Unhallowed Rites coming across for 5.
Is blocking with his Bloodsheath Skeleton. It does have the ability to block once without being destroyed. Correct.
So he's going to block for 2, and then he's going to block for 3 off the Whisper. Whisper is a fantastic card in OTK Vis.
Blocking for 3 is, it's pretty good.
It's exactly what you want in a card, right? Blocks for 3, beneficial effect, can help trigger Viserai's actual generation of rune chants.
Yeah, fantastic.
Here instead, just, protecting some of your life.
That's exactly what he wants to do. He's already at 26, only has 10 rune chants. I mean, 10 rune chants is a lot, but he needs a lot more to be able to go off here. And Chane is just going to keep applying this pressure here. Thinking about using the Nebula Blade. No, coming in with the Nebula Blade.
Yep. So attacking for 4. This does not get the buff from Art of War. He does choose to fetch the seeds that he's played as technically in the graveyard at this point. He does choose to fetch that to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, I mean, coming in for 4 with the Nebula Blade, Still very threatening. And as Viserai, you're like, I don't want to take that much damage. And he's blocking with an Enlightened Strike.
Yep.
Only blocks for 3, though, so if it does hit, he will create a Rune Chant. Chane will, off the back end of that Nebula Blade.
And it looks like it does. It creates, it hits, deals 1, creates a Rune Chant, and probably content at that point to, you know, pass the turn. It's interesting. That's not a lot of value off of the Art of War. I wonder if he drew into just some poor attacks or perhaps some situational cards. And this is the great thing about OTK Vis.
Oh, read the runes.
You don't care. You block a couple of times, and your turn is always just going to consist of, hey, I'm going to play like one thing.
Yeah, just play read the runes, and you're happy with that.
Yep. So up to 13 Rune Chants at this point. You're probably going to need a little bit more dice if you can land a couple of more Mordred Tides or read the runes. You might need a few more dice there.
Maybe turn those D12s into some D20s. I think he's going to need it.
That is the goal, isn't it, with OTK Vis? A deck that both of us have played a good bit.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite deck.
It is a fantastic
It's so much fun to play. We have a Seeds of Agony coming in from Chane, followed by a Shadow of Ursa.
Banishing a Rift Bind. See, that's the way you want to do things. You want to banish those Rift Binds with something like Shadow or with Art of War so that you can play them with that buff.
This is the beginning of a great Chane turn. You know, starting off with the Seeds, coming in with a Go Again, Shadow of Ursa, with cards just waiting to be played. Looks like he took some damage and is playing another Seeds of Agony. Pitching a Rift Bind. Soul Shackled it up for Go Again, and coming in with another Rift Bind, yeah.
So it looks like it's coming in for 5, yeah. So 3, no, excuse me, he's coming in for 4. It's a yellow Rift Bind. Normally attacks for 2. Because 2 Seeds have been played, this would attack for 4. Again, just hitting that 4 breakpoint like you want to do as a Chane player, bleeding that opponent's life points down.
Makes it really tough for Viserai to block here. And, you know, as an OTK player, you don't mind blocking a little bit, but it really depends on what you have in your hand. Like, do you have something like a Read the Runes where you can just happily block it out and just play your Read the Runes?
Yeah.
Or do you really have stuff you want to keep and set up for a big turn?
Yeah, you certainly have some options, and it looks like he is pitching cards from his hand to stop the arcane damage, maybe just worried about you know, things like Meet and Greet or Rip Through Reality that could gain Go Again off of arcane triggers.
And Viserai here doesn't really need that Meet and Greet in his hand. He's not looking to attack with it anytime soon.
And look, and this is exactly why he was trying to block all of that, because consuming Volition from Arsenal is a huge threat if you've dealt arcane damage.
Yeah, it's coming in with a Rune Chant token, threatening a pretty powerful on-hit discard effect.
Yes, it is.
Blocking with
he's going to block
Arcanite
Skullcap,
and Lightning Strike.
That is the right way to do it. Avoid that on-hit trigger. The very few on-hit triggers in Chane, but that is definitely one that if people are including it, you got to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, discarding a card in Flesh and Blood is such a huge deal. You're
Wow, a pretty big miss on the Chane player's banishes here.
Is that just a single bounding Demagon?
He banished Mauvrion Skies and 2 other cards that can't be played from Banish Zone.
Yeah, getting up there with the Soul Shackles. Not too high yet, but you definitely don't want to hit 1 and miss 3 with 4 Soul Shackles.
This is very interesting. He's at 33, and you might think, well, man, he's just absolutely going to cruise to it, but there are 13 Rune Chants on the other side of the table. And with 13 Rune Chants comes basically the threat of a bunch of arcane damage that you just can't deal with. All the OTK player needs are a few more Rune Chant generation turns and to play a Sonata down.
Yeah. And yeah, you can't really look at Chane's life total exactly. You really have to factor in all of the Rune Chants and the absolute explosive power of the Sonata. I mean, basically, Viserai is now on his OTK strategy. He wants to build up Rune Chants.
That's exactly right. And this is that moment where if he can line up maybe 1 more turn, maybe 2 more turns of Rune Chant generation, and even if that Arsenal card right now is just Sonata, and he just chooses to full block hand after hand after hand, he can just wait until he feels comfortable. Then he can destroy the Bloodsheath Skeleton, reducing the cost of whatever you say double X's or X's on Sonata, draw a bunch of cards, or reveal, I should say, and deal a bunch of arcane damage, put a bunch of big attacks into his hand, and throw them all at Chane for the win.
Yeah, and Chane here is coming in with a decent turn. After attacking with his Nebula Blade that had go again, he's coming in with a Bounding Demagon. Looks like Viserai is going to choose to block with another meet and greet from his hand. Once again, he's not really looking to get those meet and greets going right now. He's really looking to build up those rune chants.
And this is that Bounding for 4 that threatens a rune chant generation off Mauvrian Skies, so it does also have go again.
Yeah. Choosing to block with the Grasp of the Arknight here.
Yep. Overblocking, trying to stop that rune chant generation so he doesn't have to deal with multiple sources of damage as readily.
Yeah, he really wants to mitigate damage here. Wants to stay at a high enough life total so you can actually have the time to build up those rune chant tokens.
Exactly right.
Chane is going to do his darndest to make sure that doesn't happen.
And so here, this is an interesting moment. He chooses to use Grasp of the Arknight, which breaks the combat chain, allowing the Grasp of the Arknight on the other side of the battlefield to return to its zone. He could technically block again with the Grasp of the Arknight this turn. It is it's kind of one of those things that if you shorthand a lot of Chane's plays, you can kind of miss that.
Yeah. Because activating Grasp of the Arknight is a non-attack action, thereby breaking the chain.
Looks like he just takes it down to 9.
Came in with a Ghostly Visit after taking some damage, man. He's down
and
to...
then a Consuming. Wasn't that a Consuming Volition there at the end? Very powerful turn.
Ooh.
Oh, and this is why. There's that turn. You play Mordred Tide. You played Read the Runes. You generate... Look at this. 19. He's up to 19. Now all he needs is a Sonata. And then to not die.
Yeah, that's the big one. Not die. Just say, hey, Chane, just give me a break here. Just don't hit me for a bunch.
And a break does not come. 2 red Rift Binds and a red Seeds of Agony.
Yep, that's some of the better stuff Chane could hit.
Wow.
Immediately throwing that Seeds of Agony down.
This is incredibly dangerous.
Ooh, and a Shadow Puppetry.
This is exactly the wrong time to hit these kinds of cards. He's choosing not to play Command and Conquer.
He pitched Command and Conquer.
Because this is better.
This is scary.
And interesting, too, because Shadow Puppetry into Command and Conquer is very powerful. Perhaps this speaks to the pitch value of his hand, being 2 more red cards.
Yeah.
Which might mean that this is not too bad of a turn. It might be one of those scenarios where you try to, hopefully hold the Sonata in your hand if you have it.
Yeah, Chane is hoping to dish out a wounding blow here, and Viserai is just, grasping on and trying to not take as much damage as possible.
Oh, and he does have the Sonata in hand. He does have the Sonata in hand, so all he needs to do is survive this turn, and he's going to be able to launch 19 rune chants at his opponent, draw so many cards, again, reveal so many cards, apologies, and then perhaps just blow up Chane.
I don't know about you, but I really want to see that happen.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it might be able to happen. We'll have to see how explosive this Chane turn is, because it's looking pretty strong right now.
Well, 2 cards in hand.
Still has a Riftbind in the Banish Zone.
No Soul Shackle, but he does have to worry because if the top card actually does get flipped over and banished off of the Shadow Puppetry, then things get crazy. But look, it was not anything he could use. It looked like it was a Plunder Run.
Had to put it right back on top.
Yeah, it looked like it was a Plunder Run, so he does dodge the bullet there. He is down to 2
life.
At
2.
Oh, it was another Command and Conquer.
This is the pivotal turn. Coming in with that other Riftbind, pitching another Command and Conquer, which is great.
And this is for what? Let's see, 3 plus 1, 2. So this is only coming across for 5.
5, but, Viserai's at 2. Very threatening attack. Yep. Choosing to block with the Grasp of the Arknight.
He's going to go to 1.
Yeah, blocking for 4.
No cards in.
Bounding Demagon.
No. Oh, no.
Blocking it.
Bounding for 3, blocked it. So he has 1 card in hand. It's Sonata.
It's the Sonata.
And this is, you can't not.
This is the turn. You have to do it. You're at 1. You have to do it.
Did he pass?
See.
Nope, this is it. He's going to destroy Bloodsheath Skeleton.
Yeah, here we go.
Reduce the cost of the next card of non-attack and attack action card by the number of rune chants you control. In this case, it's 19.
19.
At this point, you then play the Sonata Arcanix, and you name X.
Yeah.
In this scenario, you name X is 8, right? X is 8.
So it's coming in for 19. It'll be. Oh, is he pitching some more?
He is. He wants it to be. What does he want it to be? 20. So
He's
he
going to
makes
come in for 10.
It makes
X10.
X10.
So he gets to reveal the top 10 cards of his deck.
13 cards of his deck.
Oh, 13 because it's X plus 3.
Yeah, so he's revealing the top 13 cards of his deck. He is then going to show non-attacks and attack action cards. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, no, you don't want to see this.
No.
3. It's only 3. So he basically gets attack action cards equal to the non-attack action cards that he flipped. He only flipped 3 non-attack action cards, which means he only gets 3 of those attack actions. Those defense reactions there don't count at all. You can ignore them for Sonata Arcanix. So this is rough. This is really rough for Viserai. As a Sonata player, this is not what you want to see. This is not a good split.
I have done this exact thing in a game against you.
Yep.
So he can
Deja vu here.
He can choose 3 of those cards.
He
of
only
those
gets 3.
attack action cards. He can put them into his hand. He's going to threaten 3 arcane damage from Sonata. So I guess there's that to be hopeful about.
Chane is at 33 life.
You needed that
don't
to
want
hit
3
so
cards.
much harder.
3 cards and 3 arcane damage is not what you needed to come around and pull out the victory here. And being at 1 against Chane, who still has his Carrion Husk. This is dire straits for Viserai.
That unfortunately just seals his fate, sadly. It
You
doesn't
gotta
really
feel
matter. It doesn't really matter what 3 cards he picks here.
Yeah.
Even just launching 19 rune chance plus 3 arcane damage from the Sonata, plus any of these attacks really. And it looks like he didn't even get like a 9th Blade of the Blood Oath.
Yeah.
Looks like he went the go wide route.
Yeah, so he's gonna come in for some rune chances. You know, it's gonna be some damage, but it's really not what he wanted. Not at all.
Yeah. This is unfortunately one of those scenarios where Chane can literally just go, okay, I take 19.
Yeah.
Okay, I take 3, and you're going to play another 3. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I could just block with my Husk. Chane has a lot of options here.
Yeah.
And what that means for Viserai is nothing good. It means that Viserai's
his days
are numbered. Yeah.
His days are most certainly numbered. And he could pitch, technically, if he wanted to, he could pitch blue cards from his hand, pitch yellow cards from his hand, and block some number of these rune chants.
Yep. Remember that Crown of Dichotomy does have Arcane Barrier on it, so he can prevent some arcane damage here.
Yeah. But it's not looking good.
No, not at all. I think at this point, Chane is basically saying, hey, how do I not take enough to put myself in an iffy situation? He just wants to put himself in the best possible situation here to just come out.
Like the worst case scenario is that you, as a Chane player, banish 6 cards you can't play, so then you have the hand, your hand of cards. But even if you just have your hand of cards, trying to find 1 damage can't be too terribly difficult, and stealing all of your opponent's cards through blocks and tricky things like that are it's not too terribly hard to see.
Yeah. He did show, Viserai did show Chane his hand. It is public information because those cards were revealed with Sonata Arcanix.
Look, he is blocking 3 of this arcane, so instead of taking the full 19, he'll only take 16.
Casual 16. The attack is still coming in.
And that does show what we were talking about earlier. His life total, looking at 33, was never really at 33.
Yeah, not really at 33. It was much closer to this.
Yes, you can't pitch 19 resources to stop 19 rune chance. So you always have to, as an OTK player, you always have to look at the opponent's life total as what it is minus rune chance. Because they oftentimes can never take it. Can never block it.
For sure. And once again, Chane still has his Carrion Husk here.
Yep.
So he's blocks for days. He's got blocks on his Grasp of the Arknight. He really doesn't even have to use very many cards from his hand.
And there it is. It's the rune chant the rune flash for 4 with go again, threatening 2 rune chants. Takes the rune chance. Attacks with the Reaping Blade for 3 and a rune chant.
Yeah, this is just basically going through the motions here at this point.
It's really unfortunate because even just looking at that, the life total swing speaks to how powerful Viserai can be when you land exactly that combo. It just so happens that when you reveal 9 attack action cards and 3 non-attack action cards.
Off of 13.
You're just
a little rough.
A little sad.
And just imagine if that turn was a little bit better. If you had like maybe 2 more cards or something. That's the real power of the Sonata Viserai deck. That's why, you know, he's sitting at a 4-1 win ratio.
And that's right.
And for Chane here, we have him having a pretty good Soul Shackle triggers there. Lots of card in his Blood Debt that he can play.
Yep, there's the Mutated Mass.
Yeah, I got that Mutated Mass. It looks like he's kicking it off with a Seeds of Agony, which is lethal. That Seeds of Agony, 1 arcane damage is lethal.
It is.
So that's a tough spot to be in. Let's just say that.
It's not fantastic. Pitching a blue so that he can cover the cost of, I guess, making a shackle up to 7.
Yeah.
Yep. Covering the cost of a Unhallowed Rites. He's going to pitch the blue here to block the arcane damage.
Yep, coming in with that Unhallowed Rites for 4. So we have 4 coming in. The arcane damage is prevented.
Yep, Unhallowed Rites is going to go and fetch that Seeds of Agony most likely.
And if you weren't aware, you did have to prevent the arcane damage before.
And look, we do see a fantastic card
Reduced
in the form of Reduced to Rune Chant. Unfortunately, it was Reduced to Rune Chant that got in the way during that Sonata Viserai turn.
Yes.
And he didn't have a Rune Chant to begin with, so this did cost 1. Such a great card. I love that defense reaction, but it's so hard to put into OTK Viserai nowadays if you're playing Sonata.
Yeah, it's tough.
Threatening another 4.
Yep, coming in with that Ghostly Visit. Going to block with this Become the Arc Knight. Still coming in for 1 damage, right?
It should be coming in for an extra 1.
Yeah, blocking for 3. Ghostly Visit's attacking for 4.
Yep, at this point, that should do it. That coming across for 1 does it in the end. Not the most spicy of hits on the Sonata turn, and it's really unfortunate that it had to go down that way, isn't it?
I mean, even though it was like not a great Sonata turn, you still got to see the power of it. Like it took him down to 8 from what 30? What was he at? Like
33.
33.
He was at 33 all the way down to 8. And if that just changed a little bit, if there were just a few more attack action cards, he goes wider. It honestly ends up playing sort of like Chane, where you just go wider than your opponent can deal. It's just that I also dealt you 19 damage with Rune Chants right before this.
And the Sonata damage, too, on top.
And the Sonata damage. And that's, I think, the kicker, too, is it sets up so many of those, like, Rune Flash, or it sets up Meet and Greet so that you can fetch Meet and Greet, because the arcane damage is going to happen on the turn.
Oh, for sure.
So you can go super wide if you can land a bunch of those, like the Meet and Greet red, yellow, even the blues. Some people run the blues. I know I messed around with the blues just for pitching. And it's just unfortunate that we didn't get to see it go all the way off the rails.
He just got all the attack actions and some defense reactions, only 3 non-attacks. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. But, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game here, you know?
It is, yep. So the Chane player moves to 5-1, is that correct?
Yep, moves to 5-1.
That's the end of round 6. And Viserai drops to 4-2. A still respectable record, and one that could still get you in to day 2, because I think that 5-2 breakpoint, record-wise, is the break point, in my opinion, for possibly making the cut to day 2. What do you think?
I think you might be right. And one thing that immediately comes to mind when you say that, we saw a Kano deck. It was a couple rounds ago. He was 4-0. I don't know how his last couple rounds went, but if that Kano deck can make it to day 2, that personally,
things are gonna get crazy.
Yeah, on fire, quite literally.
Things are going to get crazy. I really want to know where that record stands.
Me too.
I think if we have any pull whatsoever, we need to ask for that game to be on stream, because I would love to see a Kano player light it up, literally and figuratively.
For sure. Other than Kano, what other decks are you hoping to see kind of make out of day 1? Other than Chane. We're definitely going to see some Chanes, right? Definitely seen some Chane.
I just want to say this. I have heard that we will get some Kano next round. So if you want to see round 7 Kano, sit back and relax. We're going to see that together. But if I had to pick, I would love to see a Rhinar make it out. I'd love to see. We haven't seen a Dorinthia outside of the Axe Dorinthia. Like a traditional Dorinthia would be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen normal Dorinthia being played, if you're new to the game of Flesh and Blood, it's a very thinky deck. That'd be fun. And then you can't not want to see an Azalea player.
Oh, dude,
somehow
I would love
make
to
it
see Azalea.
day 2,
I would
right?
love to see Azalea.
Is that your top pick? Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little biased. Azalea, both Viserai and Azalea are my favorite characters. But if I had to pick one, I loves me some Azalea, and that would be amazing. But even if she doesn't make it here, I think day 2 is going to be really, really exciting.
Yes.
I know there's some Bravos going around that are quite strong. Some quite strong Bravos going around.
So I've heard that the top 2 tables currently in this round 6 both have Bravo.
Oh yeah,
Both Bravo players.
you'll love to see it.
I don't know if we'll get to see any of that, but if we do get to see some Bravo players, it'd be very fantastic. I'm very curious to see what we have in round 7, which I believe is coming up very soon. So stay tuned here for the Calling Las Vegas, and we'll see you in round 7.